Hello everybody and welcome back. Come on in. This is my little place on the internet where I stick 10 minutes on the clock and tell you a little bit about a true crime case. For the record, I research, edit and script and everything myself. So sub, comment, like, all of that sort of stuff. It's like oxygen to a microblogger like me. And let's get into this one. It's 10 minutes on the screen. I'm gonna give you what you came here for. Welcome to the anniversary. Shwananana, 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 shwananana. This week we are taking it back to July 2014. It's been 7 years since 28-year-old Lars Mittank, who was from Berlin in Germany, went on a trip with a few of his mates to Bulgaria, to Golden Sands, and it was meant to be quite nice there actually, although I've never visited. But he went missing and he was never seen again. They had left their hometown in Germany on June 30th and they were looking to return on July the 7th. It was a bit of a lads trip. They spent their time at the beaches, they stayed in nice hotels, they watched a lot of footy, it was a summer of sport and all of them things there. Towards the end of the trip though, Lars was involved in not one but 2 fights. The group had gone to a bar to watch Costa Rica versus the Netherlands, and it wasn't really a great place they went to. It was a little bit sketchy. I would say that the patrons weren't well-to-do, and I'll put some pictures of what the bar looked like around here as well. Lars did come off worse in this fight though. His friends ended up taking him to hospital where he was diagnosed with a ruptured eardrum, which sounds like the most painful thing. Like if you've ever been on a flight, been on the London Underground, especially the Bakerloo line, you know that it messes with your ears, so imagine that pain. The doctor gave Lars a fit to fly diagnosis, which meant that he was able to return home on the 7th of July as planned. Now, a lot of the correspondence in this case is written in German because Lars was from Germany, and I've read somewhere in some places on Wikipedia, which I don't usually use as a source of information, that he actually wasn't fit to fly home, but the sources that say that he was able to fly home are a little bit more credible, and they're not just able to be edited by Mr. Random on the internet. Keep it in mind for later though, that some places say he could fly and some places say he couldn't, because it does get relevant a little bit later. So Lars decided to stay in Bulgaria and seek treatment for his injuries. He was prescribed by the doctor in Bulgaria an antibiotic, which I think is pronounced cefprozil. C-E-F-P-R-O-Z-I-L, cefprozil. Yeah, and him and his mates went to another bar the next day, but then he kind of lost them when it was around closing time. They went to McDonald's and they said that he was missing for hours. Like they looked for him, they couldn't find him. They got a cheeky Maccadees, they couldn't find him, and they went back to their hotel, but it was a nice place that they were staying in as well. Now, it wasn't until the early hours of the next day, so like late on the 6th, earlier on the 7th, that he rocked up to their hotel. He had told his friends that he had been in yet another fight, and this time the fight was with hired men. Let me explain. He told his friends that the German men from the night before had actually hired some Russian bodyguards militia to fight Lars the next day. So the guys from the bar had hired some other dudes, and that's why he'd gone missing for all of those hours. Now, I couldn't find anywhere that his friends were saying he looked any worse than after his trip to the doctors where he got diagnosed with that burst eardrum. I couldn't find anywhere that listed any more injuries on him, but he did say that the 3 hours he'd been missing for was because he had been attacked. His friends as well didn't believe him. We are now on the 7th of July and Lars and his mates are due to leave Bulgaria. But like I said before, and this is where the ruptured eardrum becomes quite relevant, Lars is adamant about staying in Bulgaria. He wants to stay, he wants his friends to leave, he said he wants to seek further treatment. He sends them on their way and he chills. He checks out and he stays in a hotel called Colours, which is in, put it nicely, sketchy part of town. It gives me hostel, it gives me me shared dormitory, it gives me shared bathroom vibes. And this is where the trouble really begins. He was super anxious while he was staying in this new hotel, and he just didn't want to be there. He left for a little bit, no one knows where he went. He came back, he called his mum back in Germany, and she described him as being paranoid, as being super anxious, and he was freaking out, telling her to cancel his credit cards. He told her that he was scared, the place was strange. He told her that he was being followed and they wanted to take the antibiotics that he had been prescribed, and his mum was just really worried. So what she did was she booked a bus and a plane ticket for the next day, July the 8th, to get Lars the hell out of Bulgaria. So the morning comes round and he gets an early taxi to the airport. There is CCTV of him arriving, looking very ordinary like any old traveller at the airport. He stops, he talks to a woman. We can only presume, but I think it's pretty clear that he's asking for where the doctor's office is. He goes over to the medical centre and he's there for about 45 minutes when an unknown man walks in there. And from the clothes that he's wearing, he looks like a construction worker. He's got some high vis on. Now, when the man enters, Lars starts behaving really strangely. He becomes super anxious. He wasn't anxious before, he was just talking to them. He starts fumbling through his bags, he mumbles something to himself, and he gets up and he runs. Like Usain Bolts it, he just runs. And when I say that he's sprinting, he is sprinting out of the medical centre, out of the airport, through the car park. He scales a fence, runs into a field right next to the motorway, and Lars Mittank is never seen again. Now, at first you think, yep, he's running from someone, but the CCTV shows that no one is chasing him, and Lars actually doesn't ever look back. He seems like he wants to get out of there, but not like he's running for something in particular. And when he gets out of the airport, he starts jogging and half walking and then walking with purpose, but not frantically sprinting like he was before. It's all pretty disorientating. It's all pretty confusing, and it's bizarre to watch. But like I said, Lars Mittank was never seen again. Ever. That should kind of be the end of our story, because over the years there have been sightings of him, none have ever been confirmed, and the last one that we have was in 2015 on April the 5th, which is just shy of a year of him being missing, where a truck driver said that he picked a guy up that looked like him, but then the truck driver didn't want to tell us where he dropped the guy or where he picked the guy up from, and no one knows anything for sure. But we have got 10 minutes, so I thought I'd get into some theories on what the internet thinks has happened to Lars Mittank. The first theory is the antibiotics. Every single antibiotic that you take has a side effect, and the one that Lars took, cefprozil, has some as well, rare side effects when mixed with alcohol or recreational drugs. Now, we know that Lars was drinking on the day of him going missing the night before, and when this particular antibiotic is mixed with drink, it can cause anxiety, it can cause dizziness, heart palpitations, nausea, vomiting. And for me, even though I obviously don't have the foggiest idea, this theory feels like the most likely, because where is he? Someone, when recording this episode of the anniversary, obviously wasn't checking their notes properly and forgot to add the fact that his head injury contributes to a lot of theories online as well. He suffered a massive blow to the head, ruptured his eardrum, and a lot of people think that that sort of injury could explain some of the bizarre behaviour that he was exhibiting. I've had a look at the likelihood of there being a psychotic break or an episode, and even though the specific tablet that he was taking doesn't show that that is likely, why would he run out of an airport? Why would he just run, leave his bags, his passport, his money, in just a t-shirt and shorts and just go? The second theory, which, is it likely? I don't know, potentially, he was a drug mule. Now, if you remember the men that he was fighting, the first guys, this theory was that the German men actually did hire the Russian men to get him, but it was a bit more than that. A lot of people, Reddit, I'm looking at you, believe that after the fight with the Germans, Lars was forced by the hired men to do their bidding. It would explain why he was so scared when he spoke to his mum. It would explain why he was using any excuse under the sun to get his friends the hell out of Bulgaria. His bags, though, they were searched when he got to the airport he would be the worst drug mule in history if he had them in his hand luggage, but no drugs were found in them. And some people even go further with this theory and think that maybe if he had ingested some of the drugs, one would have burst, something would have happened, and that also would have incited this reaction. Now, our third and final theory, which doesn't make any sense, but I've given you two, so I might as well give you a third one, even though it's not it, and I don't think this is true, is that Lars wanted to start a new life. Yeah, okay, he made his mum cancel his cards, he stayed when he made his friends leave, and I guess this covers those things, but so do the other two theories. It's thought that he could have staged the fight, like not hired them, but got into it deliberately so that he had a reason to stay in Bulgaria. But I do have to tell you that he was a happy guy and that he wasn't in any debt. He did say to his mum that he was being followed and all of those things there, so people think that could have been part of an excuse that he was setting up to explain the fact that he was missing. But yet again, I don't know. And we have run out of time. 10 minutes on the mystery that is the disappearance of Lars Mittank. With this one, I actually feel like I genuinely need your help because there has been no sightings of him. So let me know in the comments what you think happened to Lars. Do you think any of the theories were likely, or do you have one of your own? As always, I've put all of the links to my research and all of them stuff there if I've tantalized you into having a little bit of a dive into this case yourself in the description box. Have a look at that, take advantage of it. I will see you next week for another episode, and I really, really, really want to know what you think of this one, so make sure you let me know. Thank you for watching.